All right. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? You must answer. All these people are doing quiet people. It's not as if you are
Yeah,
quiet.
fine.
Everyone can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Right.
Hi, can anybody hear me? I can't hear anyone. Tolu, are you speaking?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everyone hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. No problem. Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
All right, great. I'm trying to. All right, that's fine. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Oh, great. Trying to, I don't know. Sometimes all these things is God that will save us. Aha. All right, good morning, everyone. You're welcome to week 3 of Tomato Factory. Small by small, your money is finishing. Please ensure that you maximize your money. The thing is finishing sharp. Yeah. So this week we're going to be talking about random acts of branding. It's a continuation of unit 1, which talks about branding in itself. So basically that's what we're going to be doing. So last week, it seems so far in my head because I'm in 2 different states. Last week, we talked about what a brand is, and we looked at some defining concepts around what a brand is. Going through the life cycle of a brand from its birth, its life, and then its death. We also looked at why brands exist, which is more like to meet the emotional needs of their customers. And the reasons why they exist is because humans exist. So in essence, so far humanity continues, or so far there's life on Earth, it might not be humanity, but so far there's life on Earth, there'll be perceptions that will be created about the things that exist in the world, and those perceptions are called brands. Or basically, in layman term, you could say it's the reputation of an entity, whether it's living or not living. But we've come to see that brands in themselves, they are living entities. So they may not draw breath like humans do, but brands in themselves are living entities. So today we're going to be talking about random acts of branding, which in Scott Lehman's book, Building Better Brands, he said that we should avoid because random acts of branding in itself, they are disjointed attempts to like manage the perception people have of you in their minds. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So are we ready? I hope we are. So to start off, we're going to start off with this. This is the Joker. Joker is one of my favorite characters in the world. I simply love him. I love his perspective about life. And yes, I do not support everything that he does. He's a criminal and all of that stuff, but I love his unique perspective about life. And in one of the issues of the Joker, this is actually in one of his comic, he said that if I weren't insane, I couldn't be this brilliant. So they basically asks him how he's so ingenious, and he comes up with the most radical of ideas. And it was like, if I weren't insane, I couldn't be so brilliant. So sometimes managing brands would you'd see yourself come up with borderline crazy ideas. They might be crazy to you, and even upon implementation, they may still look crazy. By the end of the day, sometimes it turns out that that's what works. So we're going to be going through 3 phases in branding, which is that's me, you, and us, looking at branding from 3 perspectives: yourself as an entity, that's as a personal brand, your customers as the people we are serving, and the people who because of them you exist, and then both of you together. So let's dive right in. So personal branding. Everybody has a brand, and it would be, what's the word? Insincere to say that you do not have a brand, or maybe you're just not conscious of the fact that you have a brand. But just like we've explained so far in the previous classes, that everybody has a perception about everybody. So even people that you've not met before, even people that you are meeting for the first time, you have a perception about them. You have an impression about them. When someone walks into a room, there's something that goes on in your head. If you pay attention to the person, in that sense. So when you decide to look at a person, an impression is formed in your mind. You have a perception about the person, and this perception might have been informed or might have been created by how the person looks, how the person smells, how the person behaves or acts in that sense. But what is constant or what is consistent is the fact that every single person has a brand. Everything is branded, including you. So just like I said, people have a perception of you, and that forms a brand of you. What you need to do is to take conscious steps to build a narrative consistent with what you want your audience to know and believe of you. Now, why should we take cognizance of how people perceive us? Now, it's very key why should we take cognizance of the way people perceive us? Now, the reason why we should do that is because more or less, especially if we work for an organization, or we freelance, or we are our own person, but whatever category we fall into, why we should take cognizance of of the perception people have of us is because in one way or the other, the perception people have of us influences the perception that we have of the services we provide for them. And this is very key, especially for those that your personal brand is closely tied to your business or to your source of income. In that sense, I'll give an example. Today, okay, yeah, I'll give an example. I'll use Elon Musk. I think everybody should be able to relate with Elon Musk. Now, when Elon Musk made an offer to buy Twitter, Tesla stocks plummeted. Their stocks went down, so people sold. The units that they bought before. Why? So one of the popular reasons, while going through the rabbit hole on the internet, on Twitter, people are like, he would not, if he begins managing both Twitter and Tesla, that Tesla is going to suffer at some point. So they are selling early now, probably to buy back later on, or something of sort. But because he has past records of going all in for a particular project, that even sometimes his own personal health suffers. So a few of the people that sold off their units, this was one of their reasons. Now, Tesla is not Elon Musk. SpaceX is not Elon Musk. All of his organizations are not him. They have independent. They are independent entities. He's just a member in all of his companies, which is funny. But his personal brand is strongly tied with the organizations he has built over time. So his personal decisions most of the time affects how people perceive and interact with his businesses. That's one. That's one. So that's like just like a what's the word? An example of why you should be conscious of how people perceive you as an individual. And this is I'm going to use another movie as an illustration. I don't know if any of us have watched The Banker. It was a movie set in old America, where there was still where racism was really rate of racism was really high, and blacks could not own businesses. And so there was a certain shoe shiner bank who shown that used to shine shoe in front of banks. So long story short, when they wanted to found their own bank, they couldn't because of the general perception people have of blacks in those regions. So they partnered with a white man, a young boy from in college, and partnered with him, and he became the face of the bank. So he was the one people knew as the CEO. He was the one people knew, but behind the scenes, it was these two guys that were pushing and pulling all the strings, and telling him what to say, how to act in boardroom meetings, how to calculate the figures and everything. So they basically made him into the perfect person, or the perfect replica of what they would have been if they were the face of the organization. Now, why they did that is because their reputations as blacks would have greatly influenced how people perceived their business, and along the line, how people would have done business with them. So as an individual, you need to take cognizance of how people perceive you. Now, it's not to say that you should live to satisfy people, but at the end of the day, we're going to see why having a personal brand, or being conscious of your personal brand, is actually very, 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 very important. Uche would say that personal branding is a journey. It's a journey that never ends, probably until the day you die. But it's something that we should also take cognizance of. So just again, to remind us, what you need to do is to take conscious steps to build a narrative consistent with what you want your audience to know and believe of you. Now, why should we care about what you are doing? So, since brands are living entities, the entire process of nurturing them must also carry the same detail and attention that is given to nurturing a human. So there's an effort to create an experience in the minds of our customers that would consistently remind them of us. How do we design a brand's experience? Through branding, by creating an identity that simultaneously communicates truth and value directly to the humans it matters the most. directly to the humans that it matters the most. So we know what branding is. Branding is a conscious and deliberate effort to influence or manage the perception people have of us. And the process of branding can involve so many things. It can involve, but it's not limited to having an identity, which for a business might be your logo mark, and your visuals, your typeface, your slogan, your pattern, your whatnot. And for a human, it can be his name and all of the many ways he has chosen to dress. But branding goes beyond that. So because why do we need to pay so now we started off from why we need to pay attention to ourselves, the stories we tell from us. Now why do we need to pay attention to the persons that we are telling those stories to? Now, brands are designed in such a way that they have their customers in mind, right? So whether you know it or not, brands are designed with their customers in mind. And so we are basically the primary focus of brand builders. And now I hope you understand that currently I have turned the tables. I want to be sure that there's nobody in the waiting room. Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was looking for the room. I didn't see the room again. But thank God you people are still on the call, because I don't know where the call is. All right. Oh, broke my flow of thought. So as I was saying, where was I? I've lost my flow of thoughts. Yeah, can anybody remind me where I was? Anybody? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I said, can anybody remind me where I was or where I am?
I remember you were talking about the fact that you talked about why we need to consider brands, or like why we should be intentional about building brand, and then you were explaining branding.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. You can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right. Let me rush back then. I wanted to check if there's anybody in the waiting room. Okay. This part will be inside the recording. It's you people that cause it. It's not me. All right. So moving forward, not that we ever went backwards. Yeah. So why do we need to pay conscious attention to the people we are building for? So firstly, just to rearrange all the things that are in my head. Firstly, the reason you are building is because you are building for people to pay attention to what you are building. And then again, you might just be building for yourself. But if you are your own audience, then there's no need. If you are your own audience, then you should buy your own product or something like that. But if we are building because we want people to buy from us, because we want people to associate with us, then we have to build with the persons that we eventually want to interact with, either financially or otherwise. We have to build with them in mind, and that's how brands are built. In that sense, brands are built with their customers in mind. So as I was saying, brands are built with their customers in mind. So it's basically our perception of a brand's identity or of a brand in itself that impacts the brand. Are we following? So it's basically our perception of them that influences how they build their brand in that sense, or how an organization builds its brand. So it's how you want people to perceive you. It's in that line, it's in that direction that you would tell your stories as an individual. Do we understand? Is any question so far? No question. Okay.
No question for me.
You have a question?
No.
Okay. So in an interview with Matty, Matty said that, so when I say Matty, I mean Matty Mira. So he said that every good branding effort is founded on three things and their relationship with each other: perception, identity, and design. So basically, how people perceive you eventually becomes your identity, and you are going to design informed on the identity that you already have. Now, these processes can, in a way, be mixed up, and any one of them can come first, but they are intertwined. And it's not like they're not in a particular hierarchy of need or order, but they are basic concepts that brands are built on. So perception, identity, and design. So moving on. Now, we are all we have. So perspective matters too. So we've considered ourselves, we've considered the people that we are building for. Now, together, how do we find that intersect? How do we find that intersect? So how do we find that intersect? So the way we find that intersect, just like we earlier on said, is to consciously build a narrative. And narratives are built with stories. Now, narratives are built with stories, basically. Now, and so I'm going to quote Praise Philemon from one of the letters he wrote to us, I think in March. So it says, stories are an art, and telling them is a religion. When I mean us, I mean people in his news that subscribe to the newsletter. There's no one way to write a story. Now, the homeless orphan who lived on the streets before getting an opportunity at life will write his story different from you, who maybe had a complex extended family. Do you know what makes stories cool? It's the fact that someone lived them, someone believed them, someone owns them. Stories are cool because they are the lived expressions of at least one man. Now, how you tell stories is based on your perspective and on your outlook on life, or on a market, or on whatever you want to, whatever your story is going to be about. It's a particular experience, and it's a known fact that if three people attend a party, the way that they are going to tell the story of that party is going to be different, because they are going to experience that party. They are going to experience the party differently, probably based on based on preconceived notions, based on set biases. So if someone attends if someone who doesn't drink attends a party, her experience is going to be different. Maybe in that party she had to take first alcoholic drink or something like that. Her experience is going to be different from someone who has broken that threshold and doesn't have that preconceived bias. If someone who has never attended a party ever attends her first party, the experience is going to be different from someone who this particular party is 100th party. Why am I using females? Am I being so so how we reconcile both ourselves and how we reconcile ourselves and our customers, how we build that bridge, and how we create a connection is by using stories. So branding, like I want to remind us, ensures that we live up to, and likewise not fall far from, the perception our customers have of us. Now, what we do with stories is that we are creating a standard, we are creating a threshold, we are building expectations in the mind of our customers with the stories that we tell. And again, these stories is not once upon a time. And there was a man who lived under a mango tree. These stories are embedded in our actions, in our reactions, in how we write our copies, in like as I was sharing with Vicky yesterday, how the type of words we use in let's say our portfolio or case study. All of these things are how stories are communicated, because all right. I'm looking for a way to simplify this example. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I remember. I think this is a perfect example, but I don't know. I don't know if I can find the video. There was a TikTok video, either a TikTok video or an Instagram Reels video of Mike Tyson speaking before a boxing match. Those like press stuff that they have before their. I don't know how many of us have seen that video and knows the video I'm referring to. Anybody? All right. So if I can find the video, I'll share it with us. I'll share it with us. But in that pre-match interview or something, the way he could have just easily said that, oh, I've prepared very well for this match. I'm going to knock out my opponent. I'm going to knock the daylight out of him and stuff like that. But it started in the video. He was like, I've tussled with an alligator. I broke a brick with my bare fist. I switched off the light and something without, and before the light went off, I was already on my bed. So he was just trying to demonstrate how fast he was in that interview. So that's what made that particular scene remarkable. It's the way he decided to demonstrate or show people or create a mental image in people's mind of how fast he is, using descriptives, how fast and strong, because he said he has tussled with an alligator. Well, I'll find the video and I'll share it with us. But how we tell our stories is as important as the stories that we also tell. So the perspectives we look at it from is also very, very important. How we also want people to receive it is also very important. So those are the things that we consider when building or when designing a brand experience, because that's what we do. That's what you would do as a brand strategist. That's what you do as a brand designer. That's what you do as a brand communication strategist or a communications person. That is what you will do. Your job is to design, or you're an architect of experiences, as someone who works with a brand and wants to push, or I want to project a particular perception to the world. Your responsibility is to ensure that every single block that is laid on the order fits perfectly, maybe not perfectly, but to an extent, and gets you towards building the edifice that you want to build initially. So that's what brands are. Now, stories are quite important when we, our stories are basically how we talk to our audience, or how we talk to our customers. So it takes us to brand messaging. It takes us to brand messaging. The core of why we want to talk is because the only way we can actually get into the minds of our audience is by talking to them, or in quotes, is by communicating with them. Communication in that sense can involve verbal, can be verbal and can be non-verbal. If you remember your elementary school lessons, so it can be verbal and it can be non-verbal. It can be visual, it can be audiovisual, you can make use of patterns, drawings, etc., etc. So a lot of us grew up being afraid of red clothes tied to a tree in a farm because of, maybe not a lot of us, but me personally, I grew up being afraid of red clothes tied to a tree in a farm or in any piece of land, because I watched African Magic with my mother countless times, and stuff like that signified things that you do not want to. Then, when I thought the things that you supposedly should not mess with. So brand messaging involves you actually communicating with your customers. So you want to talk to them and you expect a response for them. So how you do that will be dependent on what you want to eventually communicate to them. So I said here that brand messaging refers to any and all communication your company sends to its customers across all the touch points. And these touch points can be websites, can be advertisements, can be blog posts, email marketing, videos, packaging, etc., etc., etc. So to give your brand the best possible chance of living in the minds of your audience with the perception you are aiming for, you need to feed that perception with everything you want them to understand about your brand. So it's as though you have a child and you are conscious of how you want the child to grow. So being conscious of how you want the child to grow will determine the quality of food you give to your child and will determine the consistency with which you feed your child. So the mind of your audience is like that child that you are nurturing towards a particular endpoint. So all your efforts are tailored towards ensuring that this person grows, this person comes to know me, this person comes to become or comes to be loyal to my brand, comes to always buy from me. I'm always his first point of call whenever I need this, whenever I need that. So every single thing you do is to strengthen that perspective. 1042. Is to strengthen that perspective. So now, this is where it gets tricky. You are not the only one that wants to win the heart of your audience. Let me put it more contextual. As a lady, you're not the only one that wants to win the heart of a guy. As a guy, you're not the only one that wants to win the heart of a particular lady, there is a war going on. It might not be with bombs and guns, but there's a war that is constantly going on. There's a war that is constantly going on in the mind of our audience. Apologies, it's about to rain here. There's a war that is constantly going on in the mind of our audience. So when two organizations exist in the same market space, there's an unending struggle for market share. They fight for the hearts of their customers. And usually this happens so often that we forget to pay attention to the subtle cues made by brands against each other. I don't know if any of us went ahead to read the notes that I shared with us. There was a link in it that talks about Pepsi and Coca-Cola's rivalry. Please, did anyone go through that? Let me see your hands in the chat box or somewhere. If we went through that particular document, please let me know.
No, I did not. Where did you share it? I'm just hearing about that the first time.
Really? It's in your classroom.
Yes.
The one that I shared after the class, after last week's class. Right. So referring to that, the document actually just shows, or the write-up shows, Coca-Cola and Pepsi's rivalry over the years, leveraging media and leveraging all the tools that they know how to use, even to the reasons that, or the reason to, or it even touched on changing their logos and stuff. I hope I'm not mixing two documents together or two write-ups together. But so there's a constant battle going on for our minds. Really not even going too far. Individually, each and every one of us in this meeting today, we have competing brands in our mind when it comes to shoes, clothes, food, data. We have brands. When it comes to the basic necessities of life, even transportation, we have brands in our mind. Like for me now, if I'm in Lagos, I can't jump down full. It's not just in my, I've tried it. I've hated the experience. I do not want to experience it again. So if I don't have money, I sit in my house. But there are people that they'll tell you that they cannot, that Uber is too expensive or Bolt is too expensive, that they'll rather take bike. And because bike is fast, there's breeze in your face and stuff like that. I've actually had conversations like that with people. But basically, so there's a constant war going on in our minds, in our minds and in the minds of your customers. And sometimes it might not even be another brand. It might be the last experience that they had of you fighting with a new experience that you want to introduce them to. So if even in this particular scenario, when when it's the same person in consideration, you as the brand or you as the individual or as an organization, you're trying to help your customers transition from a particular product into another one. It requires you to be categorically careful in how you communicate the new product to them. Just like I think it was Vicky's assessment of Vitacraft. Vitacraft is an established brand in Europe, and they wanted to break into the US market. So they're not introducing something totally new, but they have to reposition themselves as an authority in the US market. So, but the people in the US market already have something in their minds that is top of shelf. So they coming into the market is to kick whatever is top of shelf in the minds of their target audience in US and replace it and be the replacement, be the choiced brand for that particular thing. So the question here would be, I have a couple of questions written down, which is like inside the class notes that I'll also share with us after today's class. Please go through it. So how do you react? One, how do you, if you're writing, one, how do you react to a competitor's move in your market space? Two, how do you know you're not jumping the gun? So that's like basically, oh, is this a move I should be making? Am I being too fast? Is this the right time to do this and stuff like that? So how do you know that your competitor's move was not to trigger your reaction, right? So they did something, but they knew there's a brand in my head. I've actually forgotten. The reason that they put out an ad was to spite their competitors, because they needed their competitors to make a move at that moment. And making a move at that moment would have been dangerous for their competitors. I've actually forgotten the brand in respect. And the fourth question would be, how do you maintain your position in the minds of your customer despite moves from your competition? And many more, and many more. It's just like 6 questions here, but it's things that you have to have top of mind always. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. Oh my God, we're almost at the ending. So any questions? Yeah, we'll take questions now. Any questions, please? Please, questions?
Those questions that you asked, I don't get it. Is that like a tax? Because you did not answer them.
The questions I asked.
The 6 questions that you just that you talked about just now. I don't know if it's supposed to be part of our task.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But it's they're basically questions you should consider as someone.
Okay, an answer.
As someone building a brand. So there are questions you would always have to answer on regular basis.
Okay.
You get?
Okay.
But the questions are in the class.
Yeah.
I'll share them after the class.
All right, cool.
Any other person? All right. There are no other questions. Permit me to.
I have a question. It's not from this, it's from the notes.
All right.
On the previous tasks. You said something about the words that Tiny Bully used in trying to sell themselves.
Yeah.
So I didn't exactly take notice of that. So I don't know if you could like give pointers on like the right kind of words to use to achieve that.
Well, so there's no bank of words that are tagged the right set of words to use in that sense. So what makes words the right set of words to use is dependent on who you are speaking to, what you want to communicate, and the context in which you are communicating with them. So the usage of words are dependent on 3 things: who you are speaking to, what you are communicating to them, and the context of where and the context in which that particular event is happening. An example would be the word go. The word go, coming from the mouth of a commander to a battalion in the military, is a command, or it's a command. So if they hear go in a, maybe they want to breach. I'm reading a book now that's full of war scenes. So they want to breach an enemy territory. The word go means that they should actually go. And in context, it might mean to break in, to shoot, open fire, whatever. It's dependent, that context defines the word go. Now, on a racetrack or in a movie like Fast and Furious, when you hear the word go, you know it means to move, to hit your pedal and move. So depending on what you want to achieve in a particular context, that will define if a particular set of words are the right words to use. Now, yeah, I think that's just it. So, but over time we get to know, we get to be able to recognize which set of words are more. And depending on, again, okay, one more peculiar thing to pay attention to is the persons that are going to be interacting with whatever communication material you have developed. So you know whether to use simple English, or maybe you need to elaborate more to drive home your point in that particular document. Okay, let me just come in. Let me see if I can get it. You can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can.
So firstly, the opening is, so this, one of the things that I saw, or one of the things I noticed in their case study was this. So they picked their words carefully to make a dent. That's one. This is a generic word. Break into a highly competitive market. This is a generic word. Now, people understand that, so they could have used to make an impact, but they chose to use to make a dent. This is them explaining the type of work that they did for Vitakraft in the US market. Now, this whole sentence here, Tiny Bully knew we needed to implement a robust digital strategy that not only aligned with the overarching company goals, but also portrayed Vitakraft as a thought leader in the pet space for American pet consumers. What this communicates is an expertise in implementing digital strategy at a high level. That's just how I perceived it. That's why I said, if you were paying, or if you paid attention to their use of words. That's just a few. I think that's just a few. But do you get where I was coming from?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
It makes sense now.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right. So if there are no more questions, we would move on to today's task, or this week's task. Please, it should come in by Thursday. Ejo, because please, God will bless you. All right. So this is this week's task. So we want to talk to our target audience. Again, it's a romantic play on words on how we can win their hearts. So there's a project by IKEA. It's a disabled project. It's going to be the link to it is going to be in the class notes. So the task is simple, I think. So it's basically to view the project that you're going to like look at it, the ad. You're going to write a short expo. Expo is like expose, just something short, maybe like, I don't know, on how biases can influence your messaging to your audience. If you view the video, if you take a look at the video, you'd understand the question. And which brand touch points do you think is most effective? So which brand touch point is most effective to communicate with your audience? So this assessment is basically borders on how you see your customers or how you see your target audience and how you can choose the proper medium to communicate with them. And we are going to be using IKEA's project as a test, which although they have already implemented all of this stuff, but when you write your expose, try to look at it from your own perspectives. So what I'm going to do now is, I think I'll just take us through to the video so that we can watch it together. All right.
Hi, I'm Eldal, 32 years old. Although I have...
Can everyone hear it?
Yes.
All right, great.
Hi, I'm Eldal, 32 years old. Although I have cerebral palsy, I do everything I can to conduct myself like everyone else. But in my own home, of all places, I'm surrounded with furniture crying out...
I can't actually hear again.
Sorry, is there anyone else that can't hear it?
Yes, I can't hear it.
That's one. Any other person?
Yeah, it's up.
I also cannot.
Oh, okay. I think maybe because I muted. I muted my mic.
Oh.
Okay.
Palsy, I do everything I can to conduct myself like everyone else. But in my own home, of all places, I'm surrounded with furniture crying out, cripple. I'd like to sit on a regular sofa without being afraid I won't be able to get up, to open a regular closet, or even to turn on a regular lamp. 1 in every 10 people in Israel is a disabled person. The IKEA Design Vision gave birth to the Disables Project. Smart hacks making IKEA's best-selling items accessible. The project was created in collaboration with 2 NGOs, Milbot and Access Israel, and started off in the IKEA store with a hackathon of product engineers and disabled people that enabled better understanding of their needs. In the end of the developing process, 13 new products were born, each solving a different accessibility issue, such as sofa elevating legs for easier ascending, lamp button enlargement, special handles for PAX closets, and more. The new products are presented in the world's first accessible living spaces in the IKEA stores. The new models are available for download from the project's website, disables.com, and 3D printing anywhere in the world.
so that Eldar, Dina, Pavel, Yuval, Moshe, Gael, and Liel can also feel comfortable in their own homes like everybody else.
Now they should come up with products that assemble themselves.
All right. What's the word? Where was I? How do I go back? Need to learn technology. All right, that's it. Are there any questions? Does anyone need clarification? I would advise you also check out the documentary video that talks about this particular project. It might help give a bit of perspective when you are compiling your expose. Is there any other question?
Like, how long do you expect the expose to be, like in terms of word count?
Well, what counts? There's no minimum, or there's no threshold. But write as if you are writing to be published on Medium.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Another person? All right. So if there are no other questions, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, we're done for today. Yeah, for today. So, are we sure that we do not have questions? All right. No problem. All right, guys.